Hi, this is Josh Floyd, the Dual Enrollment Coordinator here at Wytheville Community College. This video is designed to help dual enrollment students navigate and complete an active application with Wytheville Community College. To begin, you will just need to navigate to our main website. If you know the URL, please enter it on your respective web browser. If you do not, you can just type in Wytheville Community College under any search engine, and as you can see, the URL is listed. For web browsers, we highly recommend utilizing either Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox when using respective applications and other areas with your account. On the main website, you can see there are several different options. There are listings for our career opportunities and pathway programs. There are also listings for our campus and community events. And there are several different areas on the website in which to formally apply. There's an apply button here. And it also can be found under the Attend WCC link. For this video, we're going to go through the Attend WCC link. The next screen will show you different options. We will use the first block on the left. So you'll click or tap the apply button. Next, select admissions, and you will want to select the apply online link. When doing so, it will take you to the beginning of the Virginia Community College application. You'll notice that there are three options that you can use with which to verify a new account. If you would like to verify utilizing your Facebook account, you can enter your Facebook information here, and then click the Create New Account link. You can also use, if you have a Google account, utilizing an email as well as a password there, just as you normally would logging into Google. For this purpose, we will go ahead and utilize the Sign Up with Email link. If you do not have an email, this is something that you'll want to obtain prior to beginning the application process. There are a myriad of email or free email options out there. I have several through Gmail, one through Gmail through my work account, and one as a personal account. So I would recommend that as a very, very good option. There are also others as well. Under the first and last name, I will go ahead and put my first and last name. And I also will input a random date on this list. This is not my actual birthday. One neat thing and one great thing I should say about the application would be now that students have the option of entering a cell phone to turn on respective text messaging from Wytheville Community College. If this is something that you utilize on a regular basis, if you utilize text on a more frequent basis, I highly recommend this option. If I were to enter my office phone as a number in which I wish to receive text messages, I would then select the mobile opt-in button by selecting it and then validating my cell phone number. You will then get a text that will validate, it will be a code that you will enter in to validate your cell phone. For purposes of this application, I'm going to just use the email address, and I'm going to go ahead and use my work address. When you select validate, you'll notice that in this case I have a check mark. What that means is that I've validated this address in the past. If you have not validated an email address, you will get a code the same way you did as if you also included a cell phone. So either way, there will be a 4-digit validation code that you will receive and that you will enter in respective information. It's then going to ask you for a username. it's going to be very particular on your username. You cannot type in anything less than 5 letters. Additionally, it's going to ask for specifics. You can only use respective characters A through Z, numbers, etc. It also allows you to use an email address, which I'm going to use. You'll notice that it says that email username already exists. So if you do get that message, then you'll just need to enter another. So in this example, I'm just going to enter my name and then 2 random numbers. It's next going to ask you for a password. Like your username, your password is going to be specific. So it has to be between 8 to 12 characters long, or letters long with no spaces or special characters and at least 1 number. So I'm going to go ahead, and you'll notice that if you type in your confirmation password and it's incorrect, you must make sure that it is affirmed. Finally, it will ask me to pick a question on the list, and favorite sport, good old baseball. There's also the privacy policy and terms of use for utilizing the application. I certainly encourage you to read those before you check this box. In terms of time, we will go ahead and say that we have already done so. Okay. The account's now going to say that your account name, the one that you've created, you will want to make sure that you record what you've used for your name and password, so you'll have that the next time you sign into your account. When you select the click here to continue, you notice that you have several different options. There are links to the Career Wizard and other areas for respective surveys. There are questions about financial aid and other questions. You can explore all of the different community colleges in the system, and each is identified by a respective pin. Wytheville Community College listed here. We want to go ahead and hit Apply Now. The system is now going to ask, which application do you wish to activate? Well, we want to activate one with Wytheville. It's going to give you specific information going forward about application instructions, about requesting transcripts. For dual enrollment students, you will not have any transcripts complete as of yet. So this is something that you will not have to request as part of this process. We're going to go ahead next and hit the Apply Now button. You'll notice that it has imported the information that I've included on the previous page, so I do not need to retype my first and last name. If you wish to enter your middle name, you can. It is optional. Same if you do have a suffix as well. Do you have another name you prefer to be called? In this case, my full name is Joshua, so if I enter Joshua here, I could include yes, and my first name I would prefer as Josh. If your name has changed, or if you've ever had a different first or last name, you would enter it here. If this does not apply, you can keep moving. It has included my birth date from the previous screen. It also will next ask you for your Social Security number. If you do not have a Social Security number, you will check this box. You can also elect to not include your Social Security number. For dual enrollment purposes, some students do not know their Social Security number, and that is perfectly okay. In this example, you would go ahead and select this example. However, if you transition to WCC, for financial purposes, your financial aid is linked to several pieces of personal information, inclusive of your Social Security number. So if you do not enter it now and you transition to WCC, we will need to get that information down the road. In this example, we're just going to leave it blank. The next few questions are for voluntary purposes only. It's going to ask you about your gender identity, and it will give you options to choose here. It will ask about your racial or ethnic identification on the next one. And if you are Hispanic or Latino or Latina. And the last question will ask you if you have ever applied, attended, or worked at any community college in Virginia, which is inclusive of dual enrollment courses. This would more than likely be no for the majority of dual enrollment students. The only time that I have seen this answer be yes is if a student has also activated an application with one of our governor schools. If there's an application activated before this process, you would answer yes, but in this case, we're going to answer no. After selecting that, it's now going to ask for a mailing address. It's going to first ask you to select a country. And for this example, I'm just going to go ahead and enter the community college's main address. Then it's going to ask, is this also your permanent home address? For this purpose now, we're going to say yes, even though I don't live at the college. It's then going to ask you a few additional questions. Has Virginia been your home for the past 12 years or more? In this case, we'd say yes. And if you say yes on Virginia, it's going to ask you which county or which city do you live. If you said no here, it's going to take that option away. So for this example, we're going to say yes, and we're going to say with county. If the college needs to contact you, what number would you like us to call? I'm going to use, again, my office phone number. And we're just going to say that's work. More than likely, most of you would put cell. Okay. It's then going to ask you again, if you did not enter your cell phone on the first screen, it's going to again ask you, would you like to get important updates from the college by text message? Again, I answered no on the first screen, so I'm going to answer no again. But if you chose no on the first screen and have decided you would like to get important updates, then you would say yes. I do recommend this option if you do have a text plan, or data plan, I should say. Okay. The last question asked us is, if you plan to apply for financial assistance, financial aid guidelines require that we obtain your voluntary consent to use electronic means to provide you with information. What this means is that the college mainly does the primary amount of its contacts through email, especially with financial aid guidelines. In the purposes of time, we will not review this, but I encourage you to look at this button here. If you are only taking dual enrollment classes and you are not planning to apply for financial aid, dual enrollment students are not eligible for financial aid until after they have graduated high school or have completed a diploma if you are a homeschool student. So high school or homeschool students, you will not be able to utilize financial aid until you have graduated. So in this example, I'm going to say I'm not going to apply for financial aid, even though you can either click this or this one. Okay. As you can see, as you complete each section, it's going to give you check marks indicating that you've completed everything you need to in that section. You can also skip around to another screen if you choose to do so, but for our exercise, we're just going to keep moving down the list. It's going to ask which of the below describes your high school education. Well, if you are either homeschooled, you would select the second option, or you would select the first option. For this example, we're just going to select the first option. It's now going to ask you to identify your school. So if you want to start typing in your school, you're more than welcome to do so. I'm just going to go ahead and start typing George Wythe High School. Now in Virginia, there are multiple George Wythe High Schools. We want to choose the Wytheville High School. It's also going to give you the option that says if your high school is not on the list or if you're homeschooled. So we're going to go ahead and select that. And it's also going to ask you when you are expecting to graduate. So I'm going to go ahead and put May of 2020. If you have graduated, which dual enrollment students, this will not apply. If you are a high school graduate or if you've earned your GED, this is where students can upload their high school transcript or GED scores. In this case, we will not. This question is going to be no for dual enrollment students. This is going to be if you attended any other colleges. This would apply if you have attended a different 2 or 4 year institution after graduation and then transfer to WCC. So we're going to say no. You plan to earn a degree, certificate, or diploma. For dual enrollment purposes, you may be in one of our concurrent degree, certificate, or diplomas at the college. If you are, you still would want to recommend, I would recommend that you do no here, because most students are either earning dual enrollment credit and then transitioning to WCC, or they are going on to a 4-year institution. If you do say yes, your educational goals are listed here. So if you are getting a degree or certificate, you can enter this information here. If you would like to say, I'd like to transfer on to an institution, it will ask you for classes. But for dual enrollment purposes, we can just select no. Finally, it's going to ask you when you plan to start classes. So I'm going to say I'm going to start this fall. Okay. The last question on this page is going to ask you which of the following best describes your situation. I am taking classes through my high school to receive high school credit and college credit. I'm taking classes on my own, not through my high school, or I am a homeschool student, or I am taking some classes through my high school and some classes on my own for college credit only. For the majority of dual enrollment students and students earning college credit, it's going to be one of the top two. If you are a high school student, whether you attend one of our public institutions or if you attend Oak Hill Academy, you will want to select the first option. If you are a homeschool student, you will want to select option 2. Since we did include George Wythe High School above, we're going to select the top one and then select Save and Continue. It will then ask you for military service. Dual enrollment students will answer no to the first question. You may be a dependent of someone who is currently serving in the military. If this is the case, it's going to ask you to choose yes, and you would choose dependent. And then it also will ask you whether or not your parent or legal guardian, if they are currently serving, if they are inactive, or if they are a veteran. Otherwise, if they're not, you would just choose no. Step 5 is going to ask you about your parent's educational or guardian's parent educational level. Again, these questions are voluntary. They do not impact your application whatsoever. And it's going to give you drop-down options for both Parent 1 and Parent 2. There are also 2 options at the bottom. One is unknown, and one is that you are not sure. So again, these are voluntary purposes. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill in 2 of these at random. The next question is for in-state residency. This usually is not a major deal for dual enrollment students because you are either with the school and you are living in Virginia, or you are at the academy and you are in the state taking dual enrollment classes or college level classes. The only time that I've seen this change is for students who are either here as either U.S. citizens, permanent residents, or here as non-immigrants or living outside of the U.S. What we would do is we would ask you to choose the best option on this list, which one that applies to you. Also, whether or not English is your primary language or not. And then there also is a section to choose other. And if you want to apply for in-state tuition rates. If you choose no, it will automatically classify you as an out-of-state student. Now, for dual enrollment purposes and for students who are in high school or homeschooled or at Oak Hill Academy, this component will not change your tuition rate. Since you are earning college credit in the state, this option here, even if you choose no, it will not affect your respective payment amount. For this, what you will want to do, even here if you say no, students in dual enrollment and college level courses, they will still qualify for the in-state rates. So for the large amount of students, this is going to be yes, where you choose yes. It's going to ask how you want to apply for in-state tuition. You'll notice that if you said no, then you won't even have this option to choose. You would just click the save and continue. In this option, if you say yes, it's going to ask you how you want to claim your domicile. If you live with one or both parents or one or both legal guardians, you would choose the respective listing here. That's going to be the option for the large majority of students who apply as part of dual enrollment. So for this example, I'm just going to choose parent, and I'm just going to go ahead and write in just a random name. So it's going to say random and last name, and we'll say native citizen, and it's going to ask you a few questions about your parent. Have they lived in Virginia for the last 12 months? Whether or not they paid income taxes. If you say no, it's going to ask additional questions. So for example, if we answer yes, I'm going to say, okay, he did file taxes, he holds a Virginia driver's license, he operates a motor vehicle in Virginia, and he's registered to vote. If you chose no, it will ask you if your parents worked in Virginia for the last 12 months, and it will say no. So there are a couple of options there, but again, it just establishes respective residency. And again, for dual enrollment purposes, this is not a major component of the application. However, almost all of our students will answer yes. However, it does give you the options of answering differently. If you hit save and continue, it's going to ask additional information here. And again, this supplemental information, do not look at this screen because this is one of our test screens here. So if you wanted to provide any supplemental information, this will be a separate screen. So we're just going to go ahead and hit submit. Okay. It will say you are about to submit your application to the college. We do not charge an application fee. In accordance with the Code of Virginia, your information, date of birth, your demographic information will be submitted to the Virginia State Police. This is a requirement for any 2- or 4-year institution in the state. It also gives you information about our policies with respect to firearms, and it gives you a final review on your application. If you feel like you need to go back to the application, you can go ahead and click this link or select this link below to do so. With that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and sign. And this will usually take several seconds. A little bit longer. Okay, you should get an application confirmation page. It will go over any additional information that you need to send. And again, for the large amount of students who are taking classes via dual enrollment or college level prior to graduation from high school. Most of this information will be in the form usually of small documentation which will come from the admissions office. In this case, it identifies me as an in-state student and that I have been identified as a high school student who wishes to enroll in college courses. This is largely due to the birth date that I included, also with the fact that I said I was still enrolled in high school. You'll notice that you now have an EMPL ID. This EMPL ID number identifies you in the community college system. No one else has this number in the community college system except for you. So think of it as your social security number, but even better in terms of security purposes. You want to make sure that you write down this number, and you want to make sure that you write down your username and your temporary password. Now, your temporary password is case sensitive. So if it shows in this case, an uppercase L, you want to go ahead and include that. If it's a lowercase letter, you want to do so as well. I also received a percentage sign as well. This is a randomly generated set of letters, numbers, and characters. You want to write down your username as well as your password. Your username will normally be a combination of your initials and then a random number. This is what you will use to log into your MyWCC account momentarily. This is something that I definitely encourage you to write down, and once you've written down this information, the next video that we will have will show you how to log into your account with this information. And as you can see, as a summary, it will go over again your name, the college to which you have activated an application. I did not include my social security number. If I did, it would be largely marked out. The application term, the email, a confirmation number, and the date and time that I submitted. And with that being said, you are all done with the application. The next portion that we recommend, again, I will have another video that will go into your student account next, but I encourage you to log into your student account, specifically to change, if anything, to change this temporary password to something much more familiar to you. There's also a link that will go over what you thought about the online application. I really like the formatting of the application. I really like the fact that students now can register to get text messages from the college, and I think this is going to be a great resource for you. We are really excited that you are planning to take college level classes while you are in high school or while you are a homeschool student. I hope you found this video to be helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call, an email, or text at the college. Thank you so much.